Music. We thought the music had died. We thought it was gone. We thought it was over with. We thought Theatrhythm was going to be stuck on the 3DS forever. 9 years and an entire gaming generation later, we are back to tapping dots to Final Fantasy songs again. Final bar line is a much more definitive way to say, no, this is the last one. As the first HD home console version, Theatrhythm Final Bar Line aims to fit as many songs from as many games as possible into one experience that renders the last two games completely obsolete. To my surprise, when I played Theatrhythm Final Fantasy Curtain Call on the show, sheer number of songs aside, I felt like the game lacked a good hook to the experience. The first game had a campaign quest mode that took you through each mainline entry, and I very much enjoyed that presentation. It felt more like a musical journey rather than just a big song list, and that's the game. This new one brings back the quest mode with better presentation, even more songs, challenges for completing each level, and even, possibly, a reason to care about the RPG elements. That's a lot to promise. So today on REFFOID, we're going to attempt to answer the question, is Theatrhythm Final Bar Line truly worthy of calling itself the last game in the series, so much so that it doesn't need another entry ever again? Is it that good? For starters, maybe people aren't as big on naming conventions as I am, but I can't not point this out. By my own defined rules of REFFOID, I technically don't have to review this game. It doesn't have Final Fantasy in the title. The DLC added many non-Final Fantasy songs, but the whole base game is still exclusively Final Fantasy. So it's still weird that they would remove that. Did they just think it was redundant to have the word final in the title twice? This is the same franchise that gave us Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles of the Crystal Bearers. Would it make the title too long? This is Square Enix we're talking about. One of the DLC songs in this game is from something called Near Replicant version 1.22474487139. But the actual punchline to this is that, yes, the creative director of this game did oblige to remove Final Fantasy from the title because it would be too long and too redundant. Who is the creative director of this game? Tetsuya Nomura. I don't even have to write the jokes. But one more anecdote before we start. Remember February 29th? Remember when I died? Yeah, it was a whole big thing. I had to review every Final Fantasy before the deadline, which was that. And I didn't do it, so I died, but then I came back. It was like a whole arc. I thought it was a funny coincidence that Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia also was scheduled to die on February 29th. But what nobody expected was that Theatrhythm Final Bar Line also died on February 29th, temporarily. It wasn't a huge story in the news because a little game called Final Fantasy VII Rebirth released, but this game checks which day you play it in order to give you like a daily song bonus and check if you're playing on like a release date of one of the games because you get some items if you do that. But there was a bug in the code, and this date checker did not take into account leap day. So if you played on that date, it would soft lock the game trying to figure out what day it was, and you would not be able to play. So haha, that's a funny coincidence. It was back normal the next day, whatever, right? But it gets weirder. I finished playing Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origin on April 4th. The next day, I played Theatrhythm Final Bar Line for the very first time, April 5th. On that exact day, they released a patch that brought it back to life on February 29th. It was now playable on that date. That's weird, man. That's freaking weird, dude. Is that a coincidence? Is that a coincidence or... is that a coincidence?
Yeah!
Final Barline is actually based on an arcade game exclusive to Japan called Theatrhythm Final Fantasy All-Star Carnival. It's the non-quarter stealing home release equivalent to Dissidia Final Fantasy NT. Since the gameplay is so simple throughout every Theatrhythm game, pretty much nothing has changed from the jump to consoles outside of the arcadey menu screen and some UI elements. Even the track list is the same, which will give explanation to certain perplexing song choices. I've seen a few videos of people spotting machines in the US, but they never say where they are. I doubt it's anywhere public I could get to, or I would have taken a trip. You're supposed to play with this awkward hand shape, holding them out with your palms on the sliders and your thumbs on the buttons, kind of like a DJ. Bit of a downgrade going from that to the Joy-Cons, but we'll take what we can get. Final Barline / All-Star Carnival adds even more complexity on top of what Curtain Call added, making use of no longer being limited to the Nintendo 3DS. Mainly this means you'll be using both control sticks on your Joy-Cons or DualShocks to hit the all-new, revolutionary double swipe triggers. But that's not all. You can hit 2 buttons at the same time too. Actually, this really does add a lot more difficulty, especially when it wants you to hold down one button while tapping or swiping with the other hand, or passing a note back and forth between hands. You ever play a game like this at high speed and realize your brain simply cannot process the information fast enough to hit it perfectly? Having 2 inputs instead of 1 is going to ensure that happens a lot more. That one extra step of complexity just pushes it a little far, in a fun way. The double swipes could have opposite directions too, so there's an extra thing for you to mess up. But you can see sometimes it shows a left-right and then a right-left. There's no actual difference in input for these triggers because in both cases, it's just checking for an input of right and left on either control stick, so you can swipe in the same direction for both. It just doesn't feel right, though. It makes me wonder why they didn't make the left stick always control the left arrow and the right stick always control the right arrow. Looking at the way All-Star Carnival is set up, it's reasonable to assume that's how it worked in that version, but alas, I cannot confirm. There's one major hurdle they had to get over for the controls in this version. The first Theatrhythm was controlled entirely through the touchscreen. The second game introduced button control options, and now the third one exclusively uses buttons. In Curtain Call, I only went back to touch controls for the field stages. They featured slide triggers that forced you to drag it up and down with the tone. Doing it with the circle pad instead was painful, so I stuck to touch controls, but now they've made it impossible to push too far. You don't actually have to stay within the tiny parameters. As long as you're holding up and the note is going up, it doesn't matter how subtle, you're good. So I'm glad we've made our way around. I don't miss the touch controls. The only problem now is if my Joy-Cons don't read my swipe input correctly, but that only happened playing in TV mode, which was a foolish thing to do anyway. I'm not even kidding, there were multiple instances of lag when playing in TV mode, and that might be because of the Switch HD output into the 4K TV, but that's still a pretty big no-no for rhythm games. It mostly occurred during the event stages that had videos playing in the background. But still, the Switch can't handle videos in the background. It's that bad. You can choose to play on PS4 or PS5 instead, but it being multi-platform now introduces another problem. It's not being built for one single gaming system now, but you need the accuracy to be perfect on every setup. So now you're able to adjust the timing of the actual music within 200-point parameters. On Switch, there's even 2 separate settings for playing in TV mode and handheld mode, though you shouldn't have to adjust handheld mode unless you're using Bluetooth headphones maybe. It feels like it was meant to be played handheld, like the old games. I felt completely accurate and even got a few all-critical perfect chains this way. On the TV, I felt like I was constantly playing a mind game with myself, never sure if I had to adjust the settings a bit more or if I was just off. So, once again, that's the game. Throughout every entry in the series, the core gameplay remains tapping dots to Final Fantasy music. If you're not into that, then this new one still isn't gonna convince you. But how these rhythm games are presented changes with each game, and Final Barline offers the best presentation so far. Songs are delivered and unlocked through series quests. This is a screen that lets you jump into any mainline game plus a few extras, where every included song from that game can be played in more or less chronological order. You'll instantly unlock members from that game's main party, so you're able to use them for their own songs. Seems like a given, but that wasn't the case in Curtain Call, which really wanted you to grind forever to unlock characters seemingly at random. Didn't like that at all. And your adventure within each game begins with maybe the overworld theme, maybe the first battle song, and typically ends with the final boss track. Here's where it becomes a literal walk down memory lane, just by playing the stages in order and being taken back to moments where you were hearing these for the first time. That's where I found the most enjoyment in the experience. It may have been taken out of the title, but this is definitely a game made for Final Fantasy fans more than general rhythm game fans. You'll fight some game-specific enemies, each game comes with a few unique backgrounds to run through, and some stages might have special gimmicks, like in Lunar Whale from Final Fantasy IV, where the triggers are all slowed down because you're on the moon, or Crazy Chocobo from 13.2, where the triggers are super sped up because that Chocobo's crazy. And when you beat a series questline, you'll always unlock at least one event stage. These are the special songs, usually the most important ones, and they have the videos playing in the background to really drive those memories home. It's a great structure that helps pace the game out through the hundreds of songs you'll play through. The extra effort to represent moments from the games rather than just songs goes a very long way for me. This is also the only way you unlock songs. You don't do it through your total accumulated points anymore like you did in the last games, which I hated because it meant you just had to keep repeating songs until you got new ones. My 31 hours of gameplay is exactly how long it takes to play every song in this game plus DLC exactly once. Actually, not counting Final Fantasy 16 songs because I didn't want to play them before playing the game. Instead, your total Rhythmia will reward you with other things. Collecta cards are once again back, but you don't use them to enhance characters. You kind of just collect them and they provide passive benefits to certain characters. I can see fans of the last game who actually dug into the RPG elements being disappointed in the simplification of those elements here. Other than the cards, you'll unlock airships and costumes for your little floating Moogle guy, both of which exist purely for the purpose of cosmetic customization. But you can also unlock these things through stage quests, one of the best new features. Every stage in this mode comes with its own challenge quest to try and achieve for a reward. It might be based on your rhythm skill, it might be based on your team composition, like it'll ask you to do a certain amount of damage, get through without using healing moves, play it with a specific character. Nothing terribly groundbreaking, but it got me to do something I'd never thought I'd do. I actually engaged with the RPG elements in a Theatrhythm game. So this has always been a weird thing. They've always wanted Theatrhythm to be a rhythm RPG hybrid, but it's never quite worked for me. You can level up your party, you can equip them with different moves, but you have no control over those moves, and it doesn't change anything about the game because you're just tapping dots. Unless maybe you were going hardcore online or something, these features were pretty much worthless in the other two games. And I'm not gonna bury the lead here, they still are, but they have some worth if you're attempting to complete the stage quests. As I said a second ago, the RPG stuff was streamlined down a lot compared to Curtain Call, but the idea is basically the same. You level up characters, they learn moves, those moves are programmed to trigger at certain times during the song, so the point is to plan ahead for what you want. Maybe if the quest goal is to kill a boss, equip your best moves that trigger when a boss appears. That's about as much thought as you need to make it happen. If they still can't beat the boss, they're simply not high enough level. Go grind some more. Each character now belongs to a class: physical attacker, magic attacker, defender, healer. Then there's a couple extra classes. The summoner usually makes the summon gauge fill faster, the hunter is good at finding items and debuffing, and the supporters generally raise the stats of the rest of the party. It almost sounds like a real RPG when you explain it like that. But again, none of it makes any difference except that your level being very high means you'll kill things faster. And you might want to have a hunter to get you more XP boosting items so that you can get that level as high as you need it to be. I chose John as my main hunter. Every DLC pack you buy comes with a few ×4 XP growth eggs, so by having the Premium Deluxe Edition, you'll start the game with a ton. The XP will pour in and you'll make it to 99 pretty fast to discover a prestige system called star leveling. I think getting your star level up once is equivalent to another 99 normal levels, and you can do that 9 times before hitting the true max level. All of a sudden, you'll wish you'll have more of those eggs. Just to say I did it, I elected one character to use whenever I had a free space to see how far I could get him. After almost 500 songs and so many eggs, Leon from Final Fantasy II made it to max star level 9. With him and my other star leveled Final Fantasy II crew, I could beat basically any quest challenge without really thinking about it, except for some stupid ones like defeat the boss using an ice move or something. How the heck are you supposed to ensure that happens? They just use moves automatically. Other than that, the rest is up to how good I am at tapping dots. I'm not bad at rhythm games. I played every stage on expert mode, occasionally trying ultimate mode if I really liked the song and wanted to see if I can do it. Ultimate is still no joke, especially with the addition of double inputs and swipes. Every miss is an opening for enemies to chop your HP down, so that's when I actually need to bring in my healer, Best Girl Aerith. But not even her. Not even star level 9 Leon could save me from the brand new difficulty, Supreme mode, which is so hard it's only available on certain stages. Here's how good I am on Supreme. And now for my favorite discussion to have around these celebration type games. I always love to ask, how well do they represent each of the games from the series? Do they all get their well-deserved spotlights? And are there any standout missing songs? Because yes, there's hundreds of songs in the game, but there's thousands and thousands of Final Fantasy songs. Yet they claim that this experience is so definitive they never need to make another Theatrhythm game. That's bold. But Theatrhythm Final Barline is filled with a wide variety of bangers throughout the history of this beloved franchise, such as Battle at the Big Bridge, or Clash at the Big Bridge, or Battle at the Big Bridge, Brass to Bravo, or Battle at the Big Bridge, modulation version, or Battle at the Big Bridge, All-Star Carnival arrangement, or Battle at the Big Bridge, menu arrangement, or Battle at the Big Bridge, version 2, or Raffaello Battle, a Battle at the Big Bridge remix. Taking the number of songs per mainline game, we have about 15 each, give or take. The older ones tend to have less, the newer ones tend to have more, but this average did not include the extreme outlier, Final Fantasy XIV, with 33 songs. Though 17 of those are from A Realm Reborn, nicely fitting into the average, the rest are from expansions all through Endwalker. That's reasonable. But when you look at the variety of the song types, you'll find my main personal issue with their choices, and this goes for the whole game. There's a huge battle music bias. It's not just the 8 Battle at the Big Bridges. Each game seems to favor fast fights over slower tracks. And I do understand it. Part of choosing tracks for a rhythm game is choosing exciting ones that players might find challenging. I got nothing against the big epic battle songs, but it's not just about the challenge part, it's also about the celebration part. And some of my personal favorite songs I wanted to celebrate did not get invited. When I think of songs from Final Fantasy XIV, I think, no, but really, the songs you hear the most, those overworld songs you just want to sit and listen to while you take in the sights, because it's all so atmospheric, those are the songs I look for. Of the 33 songs from that game, 3 of them are from the overworld, 1 from each starting region, aka the lamest ones. 0 of the songs are from cities, I would have thought Gridania was a shoo-in, but no. 5 of the 33 songs are from the same single raid series, the Alexander raids from Heavensward. Now, they're absolute bangers for sure, and I love them. But man, were all 5 absolute necessities? If we had to make cuts to fit in some others, I would have been okay with that. They did win back some cred for me by having one of my favorite songs from the game, Ink Long Dry, that bizarre dungeon track from Heavensward that gets jazzy and goes all over the place. I was very happy to see it. And speaking of atmospheric, some of my favorite tunes come from Final Fantasy XI, a game with just as many expansions as 14 when this was released, but only 20 songs were chosen from the game. Luckily, they did give us more slower songs, including Cities, and one of the all-time greats, Recollection. Oh, I love Recollection. But it just left me craving more. I need to play City of Alderlin nighttime theme so bad. Oh, hold on. Mortal Sin Committed. The Promise, aka main title theme of Final Fantasy XIII. Not in the game. How dare you? 13 is actually on the lower end of mainline song quantity. Hamauzu fans, rise up. This is unacceptable. Shimamura fans, we're doing okay. I'm pretty satisfied with Final Fantasy XV's selection, which has both of its moody main title themes. My memory of the older games' soundtracks is much more faded than the more recent games, but the complaint about missing iconic slower tracks still fits here too. I noticed another omission around finishing Final Fantasy VIII, because I was looking forward to playing the super weird witchy theme. You know, the one that goes like but it never showed. And I eventually realized almost none of the villain themes are in this game. And I mean the villain themes, not the final boss track. They made sure to get those, but I mean the song that plays when the bad guy is around threatening you or something. There's no Chosen by the Planet, but there are 3 different One-Wing Angels and 4 Genovas. You see what I mean? Is this necessary? I know some of the motifs from the villain songs appear in the final boss tracks, but I still think they're important enough to be included. So actually I do have a complaint about 15. It doesn't have Arden's theme. I really don't think I'm scrutinizing too harshly. Not to give away the video before the conclusion, but no, I don't think you can call this the definitive be-all end-all of Theatrhythm with exclusions like these. I could go on, but I think you get it. There's more than just mainline games to talk about. I was happy to see some spin-off titles got series quests of their own. It's a high honor to be side by side with the mainline boys, so let's see who made the cut. First we got mainline sequels, Final Fantasy X-2 and 13 Series, which combines 13-2 and Lightning Returns. Mostly good choices here, but missing 13-2's title theme as well, and Caius's theme. That hurts, I really wanted that one. From what I remember, 10-2 pretty much nailed its choices. You even got her pop songs in there that she sings. But what do we have in the 7 Series box? Well, you got Last Order from Last Order, and the rest is Advent Children and Crisis Core. Good choices for each. But no Dirge? Not even Nomura cares about Dirge of Cerberus anymore? Dang. 7 Remake has its own separate questline too. Also pretty good, but there's no wall market theme. I was sad about that. Beating it unlocks Hollow, the credits music, but I would have liked the non-lyric version that plays in town. That's just me personally. Okay, first actual spin-off, Mystic Quest. Wow. Never thought I'd see it. And as old as Mystic Quest is, I do remember that town theme because it changed based on the element of the town, which was super fun. Didn't make the cut, but at least we have Battle 1, Battle 2, and Battle 3. Final Fantasy Tactics. That game is mostly battles, so it fits right in. And we do have a few good, slower tracks anyway, so I'm pretty satisfied with that. Crystal Chronicles. Battle music or not, the whole game is such a vibe. These quests were very enjoyable. Having not heard the final boss tracks since beating it, good God, that PTSD hit me. But what of the rest of the Chronicles? We get one song, the final boss song from Crystal Bearers. The 4 other Crystal Chronicles games have no representation. Come on, man. My Life as a King has 1 song. You couldn't just throw that one in there? You got some nerve putting the word series there at all. Dissidia series. Fighting games with all these hard rock songs, perfect fit for this. They even split it down as much as they can. Dissidia Original, Dissidia Duodecim, Dissidia Arcade, Opera Omnia with 1 song, and NT with 1 song on a technicality since it's from the story mode, which wasn't in the arcade version. Type 0. My feelings on the game aside, that music do be going hard. Even the Chocobo theme is triumphant. Final Fantasy Record Keeper. What? Oh, yeah, this game died before I could review it. Oh well, rip. It's just remixes from the other games anyway. Mobius Final Fantasy. Another dead game. This one died before REFFOID even began. It has original music, and it sounds pretty good, I guess. The main character's name is Wall. That's pretty funny. Both of these games had come out around the same time as All-Star Carnival. That's why they're featured. But nowadays, pretty awkward. Nobody even knows what these are. Lastly, Final Fantasy Fables Chocobo's Dungeon. Ah, you guys who said I was arbitrarily choosing which Chocobo games counted and which didn't? Who's laughing now? I mean, this game also just remixes from other games too, so it's a bit redundant, but whatever. That's the last game with its own questline, but there's also one called Final Fantasy Series, which is basically a bargain bin of other titles that couldn't stand on their own. 2 songs from The 4 Heroes of Light. Hey, good for them. 1 song from World of Final Fantasy. I expected more from you. And 3 songs from Stranger of Paradise. Aw, yeah, we made it. It's too bad Jack's not playable. He would be too powerful. So for those who didn't make it, there's the other tactics games, A1 and A2, Final Fantasy Fables Chocobo Tales, For the After Years, 12 Revenant Wings, and Explorers, as well as the other mobile games. I mean, are we really missing out on much? Well, I'll concede that Brave Exvius is hiding some bangers under its gacha garbage, and the Dimensions games should be in there too. But I think the biggest outliers are still Dirge of Cerberus and the rest of the Crystal Chronicles series. I know there isn't a ton of people missing them, but again, you're calling this the definitive collection. It doesn't sound like it. After beating a handful of these quest lines, you unlock the final one, the Theatrhythm series. Whoa, you got Theatrhythm in your Theatrhythm. It's mostly the big remixes and medleys from the last 2 games along with some brand new stuff, and 1 more battle at the Big Bridge. Remember the Curtain Call medley, which was supposed to go through all the main lines but didn't actually do it even though it showed video from them? I had a whole rant about it in my review. The final bar line medley is everything I hoped it would be. All 15 games get their little spotlight and they fit together smoothly. There's even a little battle at the Big Bridge in case you missed it earlier. And then you get the credits sequence. That's the end. You collected enough Rhythmia to power the crystals and save the world or something. Yeah, there's no story. But for beating it, you unlock Endless Mode, which is exactly as it sounds. Just keep playing songs and see how far you get with 3 lives. It's basically this game's simplified version of Curtain Call's Quest Mode, but that's where I was done. But we're not really done yet, are we? No, we got DLC, baby. I was able to avoid it the last 2 times thanks to the 3DS eShop shutting down, but not this time. This time, they decided to bundle all the DLC instead of doing it a la carte like last time, which makes it relatively a lot cheaper for the consumer who wants everything. But don't worry, it's not without its modern gaming nonsense. The packs themselves are actually pretty decently priced. If you consider the norm of like $1 a track, you're almost always getting a deal like $5 for 7 songs or $6 for 11 songs. If you just wanted a couple packs from the games you like, you're not going to break the bank. You could also go for any of the 3 season passes, which include 4 packs each, or the deluxe upgrade that includes all 3 season passes for the price of 2. Right? No? You get Season Pass 1 and some special music tracks only included in this deluxe bundle. This upgrade bundle contains the same content found in the Theatrhythm Final Barline Digital Deluxe Edition and certain content from the Theatrhythm Final Barline Premium Digital Deluxe Edition. Sets containing the Theatrhythm Final Bar Line game plus additional content are also available with the Theatrhythm Final Bar Line Digital Deluxe Edition and Theatrhythm Final Bar Line Premium Digital Deluxe Edition. Please be careful to avoid making duplicate purchases. Oh my god. Okay, so you could just get the Premium Digital Deluxe Edition instead, which cost $100, but if you already bought the game, you can't do that because it only exists as a separate version of the game, not an add-on. Also, if you bought the Season Pass 1 when it came out, you now have to just buy the other two on their own, but you'll still miss out on the exclusive Deluxe Edition songs, but you can only get them by essentially rebuying Season Pass 1 with that bundle. If you got the game physically, you can't get the Premium Digital Deluxe Edition at all because it's digital, even though you can still upgrade to the non-Premium Digital Deluxe Edition with the upgrade bundle, but not the Premium. But you can get all the content the Premium version has by purchasing the non-Premium Digital Deluxe upgrade and the Season Pass 2 and 3, but not 1, which is ultimately more expensive than just paying the $100, but you have all the same songs, and the only difference is the title screen won't say Premium with a pretty rainbow banner. I genuinely believe they made it annoying and confusing to make you afraid you'll miss out by not just outright shelling the $100 for the game before you even play it, and to scare people away from buying physical at all, which I really don't like. Luckily, I already knew I wanted to see all the DLC because this is REFFOID, and as with every modern game, it pays to be late to the party. The Premium Digital Deluxe Edition, the best version with everything, already regularly goes on sale for $50, which is how much the base game cost on launch. And we're talking 505 songs. I'll take it. So let's start with the 27 special deluxe exclusive tracks. What's special about them is that half of them are super fun remixes or rearrangements of songs by various Final Fantasy bands, and the other half is for the big, important, mostly lyrical songs that were missing from the base game. 2 of them are Battle at the Big Bridge. But we got Eyes on Me, Melodies of Life, Distant Worlds, Kiss Me Goodbye, the one from Crisis Core that goes, "What? Ha?" They know you want this stuff the most, so they hid it behind premium bundle exclusivity. You literally have to buy a bunch of songs from games you may not have played or care about just to also get these ones. I get it now. You didn't want to sell each song at $1 a pop because nobody would buy the Saga Frontier songs, so you forced them to. Well played, Square. This leads me to the real controversy. Outside of those special deluxe tracks and songs from Final Fantasy XVI, none of the DLC songs are from Final Fantasy at all. It's all from various other Square Enix games. That's certainly a choice. Well, let's see what you got. 1 song each from Saga 1 and 2, aka Final Fantasy Legend 1 and 2, at least they're Final Fantasy games in spirit. But here's a tip. Don't buy the Saga pack unless you really want it, because the games are listed in release order, with the Final Fantasy Legend being the oldest at the top, and because the game auto-plays the start of any song you highlight, you will be cursed with hearing the loudest, most ear-piercing Game Boy chiptune song every time you go over the DLC tab. You couldn't pick a worse song to put at the top. Anyway, then there's Romancing Saga 1, 2, 3, Minstrel Song, and Re-Universe, whatever those are. Saga Frontier 1 and 2, Unlimited Saga, and Saga Scarlet Grace Ambitions. My experience doesn't go beyond the original trilogy, but these songs were all pretty cool, I guess. Where's Final Fantasy Legend 3 though? Then there's selections from the Mana series, starting with another imposter game, Final Fantasy Adventure, Secret of Mana, Trials of Mana, which really stuck out to me, especially that funky forest theme, and Legend of Mana, which I don't I don't even know which console that's on, PS1 I guess. There's a special spotlight pack for Live Alive, which is on my bucket list, including a vocal track that's apparently from the HD 2D remake specifically. All I know about Live Alive is that Megalovania from Undertale is based on Megalomania from this, and it slaps. Then there's a big batch of Chrono Trigger and 2 Chrono Cross songs. You don't need me to tell you that the soundtrack is impossibly good. There's a few Xenogears tracks. Honestly, didn't do too much for me. The World Ends With You was cool because the sound of that game is just so radically different from the rest. And they included Neo, The World Ends With You. Remember that game? It did come out. Now for the Nier pack. I've heard my fair share of songs from Automata, especially after the Alliance Raid series and Shadowbringers, but this is my first exposure to the original Nier and its remake, which are also great. Bravely Default 1 and 2, but not second. I don't know, these songs are alright I guess. And last but not least, Octopath Traveler. Pretty good tracks too. I really like that main theme. Overall a nice selection of songs, though I'm glad I bought it on sale and didn't pay $100 for it. I'm sure this is great for fans of some of those more obscure titles which are too small to ever have their own Theatrhythm, but for me personally, I kinda wish we just got more Final Fantasy. Even the deluxe edition doesn't have every big vocal song. It's very likely due to licensing issues, but the song that opens and closes Final Fantasy XV, practically its anthem, the Stand By Me cover by Florence and the Machines, didn't make it, even though they made the song specifically for Final Fantasy. I went over how much is actually missing from the base game, not just songs I want, but songs I think are important to the games and actually deserve to be in. For them to be so cocky to say, yep, we did it, we put every ounce of effort we possibly could into this one, we don't even need DLC because there's nothing left to add. In the words of Jack Garland,
bullshit.
So, is Theatrhythm Final Bar Line a good game? Yes. Is it the best Theatrhythm game? I think so, I would say yes. But to answer our question proposed at the beginning, is Final Bar Line worthy of calling itself the definitive final evolution of the Final Fantasy rhythm game so that there doesn't need to be another entry ever again? No, of course not. Only counting Final Fantasy songs, there are 441 in the game. Am I greedy for wanting more? I don't think I would be so greedy if they didn't insist that this was the last one. That's what really gets me. Like, it's the last one. You should have went so much harder then. Like, 400? That's all you could do for the final one? You could have charged even more for even more. I would have paid it. I'm sure many fans would have. Didn't Rock Band have like over 2,000 DLC songs? That's what I'm talking about. Back in the day, people bought memory cards just so they could buy more Rock Band DLC. But no, it's more important that we sell those Saga songs and those Bravely Default songs. That's like if you bought the Beatles Rock Band, and it was a bunch of DLC, but it was for the Rolling Stones songs and the Who songs, and there's like some Weezer in there too. It's like, okay, but like, I got the Beatles game, man. And don't give me it's too big, file size is too big excuse, because the premium version of Final Bar Line is like 8.1 gigs. What's 7 Rebirth? 150? You could have put more in. But let's get real. Is Theatrhythm Final Bar Line really gonna be the last one? No, it's not gonna be the last one. With the first Theatrhythm, they said it was impossible to fit more than 77 songs on a 3DS cart. And then they put over 200 in Curtain Call, which they also said was the last one. That's why they called it Curtain Call. Like, I don't even think they're lying to themselves. They don't believe it either. They're just saying it so people buy it. Give it like 10 years. It might be a long time, but we're gonna be playing Theatrhythm Final Encore or something later. It's especially stupid to say that there can be a definitive Theatrhythm game because you never stop making Final Fantasy games. There's always going to be more. Even this one had to have 16 as DLC, but it's not going to have Rebirth songs. It's not going to have Final Fantasy 17 songs. So here's my idea. Here's what I think can be the only actual solution to this. And it might sound a little shocking coming out of me, but I think the way to solve this is a Theatrhythm live service game. I know, but think about it. There's potential to actually have any Final Fantasy song that you could imagine. Just every month, drop a couple songs. Here's a couple songs. It could be from any game, it doesn't matter. And then we just get to look forward to whatever songs are going to come out and we get to play them every month. Like, that sounds fun to me. You need some incentive to stay subscribed, like maybe songs are only available for the limited time of 1 month, but if you can play them, then they get added to your collection permanently. So that's like, you get that fear of missing out, right? You have to stay subscribed every month to get every song. I know, that's evil, but that's live service games. What do you want from me? Remember, All-Star Carnival was a live service game. It was just, an arcade cabinet. They just updated the arcade cabinet every once in a while, periodically with new songs, and Final Bar Line is just the final collection. So just do that again, but not have it be an arcade only in Japan. I don't know, I wouldn't pay like a Final Fantasy 14 $13 a month subscription. I would pay like maybe $5, depending on how many songs and what the game is like. I don't know, I would do it. So I'm curious, genuinely, leave your comment. How much would you pay for a monthly Theatrhythm thing? Is it zero, or you're like, screw that, you're crazy? I don't know. And if they're not gonna go in that direction, then what I really want out of this series is just some kind of extra hook besides that we got a bunch of songs. Theatrhythm just needs a little something beyond that, just a little more of a hook to get people in. The series quests are a step in the right direction, but I want them to go deeper. What if we had like a whole world map to explore and we could visit the 13 region and the 7 region and so on? What if there was some way to give the player more control on the RPG side so it's not just basically an auto battler? Is that too much? I just see so much more potential for Theatrhythm as a celebration, because in that department it's just like, yeah, we got all these songs, 35th anniversary, we got all these songs, but there could be more than that. I don't get the feeling that Square Enix has ever seen that potential. Maybe they don't want this to be anything more than tapping dots. Maybe that's all they think it should be. The problem is that it just doesn't appeal to a wide variety of people. You kind of have to be a hardcore Final Fantasy fan. You have to have played like at least most of the main lines to really want to get into this. If you just like 7, it's like, okay, there's 14 songs from Final Fantasy 7. Are you gonna buy the game for that? Maybe these just don't sell that much, and then the DLC sells even less, and that's why they did this whole premium digital deluxe bundling nonsense to get people to buy it more. I don't know, such is the curse of having your most popular franchise be an anthology. But on that note, we've said all there is to say. It's time to say goodbye to the last Theatrhythm game. Until the next last one. Actually, I'm going to talk about Final Bar Line once more in my upcoming review of Final Fantasy XVI. Because as I said before, I skipped all those songs. I didn't play the DLC songs for that. Wanted to experience the game first, and then I'll come back and play the songs, and then I'll judge if they did a good job choosing those. But yeah, we're really here. It's 16 time. After over 3 years, I'm finally gonna have all the mainline Final Fantasies under my belt. And after that, I'll be forced to wait more than 3 years for the next one. So, I'm gonna cherish my time with Final Fantasy 16. And that's why next time on REFFOID, we're gonna jump to a different final chapter. Another finale that's not really a finale. Final Fantasy 14 Endwalker.